Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Your stars align. This is Carmina, astrologer with Vedic principles and reader with the cards of truth. And today we have the pleasure of welcoming again Vedic astrologer Levi Kozan. Welcome back to the channel, Levi.
It's nice to be back, Carmina.
Levi and I have been collaborating in writing fundamentals of Vedic astrology book. We finished writing it and now we are in the process of revising it, and we will publish it. We are not sure yet whether it's going to be like in digital format or hard copy. We still have to see the administrative aspects of that, but we are very excited about this because when we were writing it, we came to a lot of insights that we didn't have before about the signs, about the planets. So I think we'll be doing more workshops and webinars in the future on the planets, on the signs. And so Levi and I are going to talk about the upcoming full moon. And we enjoy doing these videos. We did the full moon in Capricorn video about a month and a half, because the full moon is always a special time during the year. And that happens because the spiritual energies, the more, the energies that are usually less accessible are now more open. So the plane, the human plane, is more connected to the universal plane.
It's like the crown of the earth is open.
Yes.
That's, I think, is a nice visual. Yes.
Yes, like like the moon is the mind. The moon is connected to the mind, the manas, in Vedic astrology, and us humans on Earth are like the mind of the Earth. So it's something very interesting to contemplate on. And at the same,
also in sorry if I interrupt you. I think Alice Bailey, which was a contemporary of Carl Jung, wrote some interesting things about that, about full moon. She wrote a treatise on full moon meditation, which is highly interesting. And also, she mentioned like human beings representing the mental body of the earth, so to speak. Yes. And so, and if you connect that to the moon being the mind, and it being a full moon, of course, it's going to be important for ourselves, but also for channeling these energies to the earth and to renew and to, so I think that's very interesting also, that perspective.
Yes, because the sun and the moon are the two luminaries, the basis of our existence, the sun being the masculine principle, the square, the minerals, and the moon would be like the molecules, the water, the movable, adaptable. So these two, when they are either opposed or joining one another, they mark the month by new moon and full moon. And also when the sun is opposite moon, so during a full moon, it's a highly creative time. That's why people who have in their birth charts this sun moon opposition, if this opposition is connected to other self factors, they're highly creative people. They can be writers, they can be authors, they can be teachers. So yes, it's a very fertile time for creativity. Maybe you can share your screen so that we get a visual on the...
Sure. Yeah, it'll be easier to...
Yes, so the moon will be happening in the sign of Pisces and the nakshatra of Satabhishak. And of course, the sun will be freshly entering Virgo. So I see, this dual sign opposition between the sun in an earth sign, which is more pragmatic, more practical, more focused on overcoming concrete material problems, and the moon in Pisces, which is more soft, which is more receptive, which is more inward oriented, and it's less focused on like dealing with problems, but just believing, being devotional, having faith, surrendering, which is all the Pisces energy.
Yes, definitely. So the moon The sun and moon are two sattvic planets. So they are the foundation of our self, right? As you mentioned, the masculine and feminine side of our psyche. And so that's why they're important, of course. And now moon, our mind is in the sign of Pisces. You can also go a little deeper by looking at the nakshatra. So Shatabhishak, relates to 100 doctors or 100 physicians, or it's
100.
quite rebellious nakshatra, excuse me.
100 cures.
100 cures. It's strongly connected to Rahu, of course. So there should be some rebellious nature there. I mean, there's some chaotic energy connected to Shatabhishak, yes?
Yes, because
we also have
Indra, the conqueror.
Yes. So there's a very interesting configuration happening. We have a Kite, so which is a grand trine, and then also here two sextiles, which are formed between Moon and Saturn and Moon and Uranus. So we have the opposition with the Sun, and then we have here Uranus, Saturn and Sun trining. There's also a trine between Jupiter and Neptune, and there's a square between Venus and Pluto. So yes, this is a highly active, creative.
I have to say that
full moon, yeah.
kites are very this geometrical formation of the grand trine and two opposing planets that form sextile is something that doesn't happen very often. So it's the more a special time, this kite. And I think it's very interesting how these the grand trine, the trine has this harmonious energy of interchange between these three planets. So the Sun, Saturn, and Uranus are all in Earth signs. So it's more on the concrete level. This is very harmonious. They're working together for something on the material level. But then again, the moon, when opposing the sun, it's like a trigger for something else, for evolving, because this opposition acts like a trigger from the comfort, to break from the comfort of the trine, so to speak.
Yes, and also the moon, the sextiles will indicate opportunity. Yes. So applying action in respect to what is going on here with Uranus and Saturn. And this will support, of course, or feed back into that grand trine between all these planets. And so, of course, Uranus.
I wanted to say it's very interesting what is happening right now in the sky, because there are 5 retrograde planets. 3 of them are outer planets, so Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are retrograde, and also Saturn and Mars. And it's really interesting what's happening in the sign of Capricorn, where you have 3 retrograde planets, like Mars, Saturn, and Pluto, all retrograde, all cruel planets, influencing that Capricorn, that rigidity.
Yes. I think Capricorn is under high stress, we could say, because there's also a lot of manifesting influence to Capricorn still. Saturn, the Lord, is there. Jupiter is Rashi aspecting from Scorpio, and Mercury is still Rashi aspecting. And of course, there's also Rahu aspecting and has been aspecting for quite some time. So it's very manifesting, Capricorn, whatever house that is in your horoscope, whatever it represents for you. This will be under manifesting influence, but it will be also very stressful due to, of course, Saturn is always Saturn. It's a manifestor for Capricorn, but Saturn is dealing with, our complexes, it's perseverance, hard work. It's manifesting, but it's Saturn, right? It's a cruel planet. Then, of course, we have Mars exalted there, which is also a cruel planet, of course. And then we have Pluto in the mix. So Capricorn is being pressured, okay, and it is manifesting. So, but it should be a lot of stress as well. And also we have Pluto involved with Venus here, so there would be also relationship challenges coming up for sure. And yes, so I think a lot of support at the same time, because Uranus is breaking free right, is helping in breaking us free from certain complexes, certain worn out patterns.
Rigidity.
Rigidity is especially indicated here by Saturn, and also it could have to do with breaking free from disease. Capricorn relates to tumors, and as we know what Jaimini has to say about it. Of course, the Sun is trining here from Virgo, which is also relating to overcoming obstacles and improving on a level of health, because the full moon is happening in dual signs. Yes, so dual signs always.
I think it can be a lot of to do with health, because as you mentioned, the nakshatra is also 100 cures, and
yes,
Virgo is improving on health. So I think it like also Capricorn being the sign of some serious health issues. So people could have some breakthroughs like with their health.
Yes. So it's interesting. And then so Uranus, of course, is the trine has been going on for quite some time. So it's going to help it out, because of course the moon is also triggering this Capricorn here and this Uranus at the time of the full moon. Now, I think we have to focus also on the moon, right? The placement of the moon, which is in the sign of Pisces, which is a feminine sign, a sattvic sign. It's ruled by Jupiter. The Lord is also trining Neptune, which is there in Pisces. So
Yes, the moon is joined in the same sign by Neptune, and the moon and Neptune, we know they have a similar energy. In Pisces, especially, they have this surrendering energy, so also like contemplation. So it's more like, because you said the moon is a very involved, it has like a main role, but it's not a very visible active. It's bringing more something inward because of
inward. Yes. So I think it's a highly beneficial time to meditate, to look at, because it's a feminine sign. So it's about being more receptive. Okay. So because we mentioned that the sextiles, they create opportunity. Often it's related to taking action, because it's like a 60-degree aspect, like a third aspect, right? So it implicates some movement, some applying will, and so on. But here it is about integrating, assimilating, meditating, being very contemplative about what is really going on, because the trine indicates something that is happening harmoniously. So when trines are active, we tend to be, or we should be, more receptive for what is already happening. You see, so that would be interesting, especially as you mentioned, I think in terms of health, and it can play out on so many levels, or overcoming obstacles in general. This would be the attitude. Yes. Yeah. And also I think Jupiter trine Neptune acts like a buffer. It's been going on for quite some time also, and it acts like a buffer. I see it as I see it. It's a way of looking at things and creating. So whatever you go through, especially with Capricorn, because Capricorn is so active, and we also had the eclipses going on in the other sign ruled by Saturn, which is Aquarius. So it's very much about breaking old patterns, worn out patterns, very Saturnian influence over the last couple of months. So Uranus is just really helping out here. We also had a square for a long time between Mars and Uranus, which is still kind of active and will be active in the coming time. So it's a lot of malefic influence and a lot of Uranian influence onto this malefics. Pluto is also there, just pushing through ever more and more to really break through, because it is a challenging time, especially because Capricorn is such a strong sign, right? It's the most visible.
It's a quadruped. It can bear great burdens.
Great burdens, yes. So of course, we also had Venus involved in the eclipses. I mean, it was, as we mentioned, strongly relational or relationship oriented. So it's I kind of forgot what I wanted to say now, but so I think it's good to go over it and just find out what we can, what we see.
It's interesting, like you were saying, that the Satabhishag is very connected to Rahu because this nakshatra is ruled by the North Node. Maybe we should also check what the nodes are doing here. I see there's still Leo and Aquarius.
Yes. So I think because we just coming out of this eclipse intensity, you know, the nodes are, and you know that Mars has been very closely conjunct Ketu. It's now retrograding back into Capricorn, where it's exalted, of course. So there's a lot of support to this. I think if we connect this moon, because moon is sextiling here this point, and Uranus is also part of that, and it's feeding back into this trine. So
I think
being being receptive for what is going on. Like has been going on a lot. Has been a lot going on for the last couple of weeks. A lot of turning points, or you know, I have so many people also in my practice that ended relationships, and that people that know people that ended relationships. It's really incredible. So I think already a lot of work has been done. Now it's being more receptive to what is happening, to how it can evolve, how we can integrate it even more, right? Because sometimes a breakthrough happens, but then it can take quite some time before we actually come to grips with it, integrate it, balance it out. Really, you know, it's always takes a lot of time, which is also indicated by Saturn, of course. Capricorn also relates to the persona. Okay, so the things that we think we are, the things that we think we should be. So Pluto is there, really breaking some patterns, some ego attachment in respect of that.
People probably put a lot of like on a collective level, they put a lot of energy into Capricorn with these like cruel planets, Saturn and Mars there, which are like the hardest workers that, you know, intervene when the going gets really rough. So they put a lot of effort into establishing some sort of status, like you said, their persona, like their image of themselves, their projected image of themselves, and then Pluto there will also kind of break that image, you know. So
it will break it, yes. And also the things that you identify with that are not really helping out, you know, or like, for example, status or status quo. So with this activity going on here, I mean, and also in the recent light of the eclipses, so some serious confrontation, clashes, to break through, to break free from those limiting behaviors and patterns. And also, if you look at Pisces, see, Pisces is, as we of course know, it's two fish swimming in the opposite direction. So it can go either way with Pisces. It can go elevating, surrendering to the process, or but it's a difficult thing to surrender to a process. I mean, you surrender when you surrender, basically, you know.
Yes.
And before that, you're just gonna
suffer,
scream and suffer through it, basically. Yes. So it can also be escapism. You know, like everything has a potential to create, of course, breakthroughs, and it's always like this. Yes. So I think there's a lot of, I think this Uranus here is very nice. It's also trining the Sun, of course, which is our vision, right? There's a trine between the Sun and Saturn, which is a good conversation, a harmonious conversation between, okay, this is our responsibility. This is the thing that holds us back from living our vision, or to creating a new vision. So that this is all being very well supported during this time of the new moon, of the full moon. And so it should be, it's a potential time to really break free, to push through even further, right? In what has been initiated in the past month, we could say, during these eclipses. Yes, so I look at it like that, you know. There's many ways of looking at it, of course, and so, but
yes, and the key, of course, is the moon, because she's the star of this. She's the full moon, and she's also in the peak of that kite. And you know, in Pisces, that's a very devotional sign, because Jupiter is on sign is Pisces Venus, is exalted in Pisces. These are two Brahmin planets. They're very devotional planets. So it's all about devotion and, you know, like creating a connection to something intangible. If that sounds paradoxal, like creating a connection to something intangible, but it's, you know, going inwards, contemplating.
It's a losing control, like surrendering to, yeah, like the rule. I like this, that Pisces is going beyond the rule. Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
The
opposing,
man-made rule.
yes, Jupiter and Mercury oppositions, or the signs, right? They're rulers. And so, yeah, so going, and in that sense, surrendering to something that is greater, that is more universal.
I think
Just
what you said is like, because there is also this square between Jupiter and Mercury, and these signs that are ruled by Jupiter and Mercury are with planets that are in opposition. So I think this distinction is very strongly emphasized now between, like you were saying, man-made rules and the universal law, which is Jupiter.
exactly. Yes, yes, and that's interesting also. Yeah, and then Venus is, of course, also going to square Pluto, which is always fun. Yes. So self-worth, Venus, and so woman, all the things that Venus rules, yes. But in Libra, it's very much about relationships, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So Venus is in good dignity there, of course, in its own sign. And trining, so squaring Pluto, so breaking also, yeah, ego bashing or becoming more authentic, really pushing through what is not really working. So if there's self-worth issues, it will come up, because we have these eclipses were really in Aquarius. Like, this is Saturn, this is really breaking through some things that you just don't want to be confronted with any longer. Yeah, or if you haven't seen it coming, then it's, of course, it's painful.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people who have seen it coming, kind of, and who are really working with it. And then there's also people who are having a tougher time because they didn't see it coming. And so, but it's really positive. I've seen the people that I've worked with who have been going through deep, especially relationship issues. It's very positive, most of them, how it evolves. I don't know how it's in your experience or in your practice, but have you also noticed this, like in the, yeah?
I have also noticed so many breakups, like around the eclipse, like a lot of letting go, especially if they were touching their, you know, first, seventh house factors, you know, a lot.
Yes.
But it's
Or it,
positive because it's for the better. Like, it was a change for the better, definitely. Although it's painful, because any change is painful.
yes. Or can it also be the relationship with yourself? It's always a relationship, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's why we have all these oppositions here. But yes, some deep diving and some confrontation, deep confrontations with some addictive behavior also I have seen, or just, you know, being too attached to a person for too long, and now it finally broke free. Also, what I've seen, some health breakthroughs, a lot of interesting things have happened. So I think this last few months were extremely powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I've really, you know, took a close look to what was happening, and I think now with this kite, it's kind of a nice confirmation. It's a nice geometric figure, you know, so it has some aesthetic also. So it's good. I think it's powerful. It's beautiful and harmonious. So
I just wanted to say it has this great potential to trigger some changes through introspection, through devotion, through, you know, sattvic practices, and just realizing what you are naturally inclined to.
yes, doing meditation, doing some ceremonies, some ritual, or however you want to express it, should be, Pisces is would be the way to go into it. Yes, you can also, of course, look at the houses in your horoscope, what house Pisces is, because the house always is the gateway to the sign, which is always deeper, right? Pisces is that urge to emerge with something deeper, that is beyond the rule, we could say. And Virgo is very much about the rule and following the rules. And if I do this, A plus B is going to be, or 1 plus 2 is going to be 3, right? but Pisces is not like that. It's 1 + 2 is not going to be 3 necessarily. So, and that's interesting. I think that's, we can probe into a part of our being that is, well, less defined, perhaps. Deeper, also look at your dreams. It's a 12th house. Of course, it's the original 12th sign of the zodiac. So it relates to moksha, or getting away from the world, we could say, or the world of the physical world. Yes.
Yes. I just wanted to say that it's interesting how, you know, the Sattvic planets, well, most of the Sattvic planets here, Jupiter and Moon, are in water signs, and you know, the cruel planets, the Sun, Saturn, Mars, they are in the earth sign. So it's more effort, like a lot more effort going into fulfilling your material obligations and things like that. And your inner world, I mean, is more supported, goes more smoothly. Like if you are open for it, it should go more smoothly, because these benefics are supporting this introspection.
Yes, it's also a little bit what I meant with the buffer between Jupiter and Neptune. Like there's this, you know, you can go into it if whatever is going on a material level, because yes, it's all happening in earth signs. The grand trine is happening in earth signs. So being receptive, earth signs are of course the Vaishyas, yes, according to Parashara. So the Vaishyas is earth, and earth is also about enjoyment and exchanging things of value, creating something of value, something concrete. And so there's a lot of stress involved. There's a lot of breaking free from that. So yes, there's a nice dynamic between what is happening on the material concrete level, and also maybe more in terms of our emotions in our inner life. So Jupiter is nicely supporting that. The moon, the Sattvic planet, is also in Pisces, the Sattvic sign. So yes, it's a nice alchemy, as always, of course, but it's special with this Kite, and considering the recent events of the eclipses and so on.
And all the retrograde planets.
And all the retrograde planets, yeah.
Yes, wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Levi, for joining us. Maybe we can stop sharing the screen so we can say goodbye.
So you don't want to say something about the cards about this full moon?
I'm glad you asked me about the cards, because actually on the 26th is going to be a King of Hearts day, and hearts are a very devotional suit. And we talked a lot about devotion and Pisces, and the moon in Pisces being very devotional. So the King of Hearts is somebody who sacrifices everything else for what they love. For it can be for their family, for the people around them that they love, for something they love. It can be like a martyr who sacrifices themselves for loving God. So it's also a very spiritual card, because hearts are a very devotional, very receptive suit, very watery energy, you know. So I think it goes very well in tune with the watery energy of the moon in Pisces and all the devotional things we talked about.
Yes. Also, Pisces is, of course, emotional. If it's a water sign, I think we hadn't mentioned that. And so Pisces is also sacrificing a part of your being that is emotionally attached to things that are perhaps not really working out. So that's I think that's it's a challenge to do that in general, to not pay, like in Cancer, Cancer is so sensitive to emotions that it has to detach itself as much as possible from identifying with emotions, because the emotions come and they go, and they identify perhaps too much with it at certain points. And then in Pisces, you have a chance to kind of throw that all into the river, right? Into the ocean or whatever.
And cleanse it, purify it.
Cleanse it. Yes.
Because oceans are salty. You know, the moon rules salt. So the moon in Pisces is very, salt is very cleansing in the oceans.
Purifying. Yeah, exactly.
So
purifying time. So yeah, I think also people who can go into readings, can go into meditation,
Yeah,
also
they can
like
try something new, you know, because of Uranus.
yeah,
They've never tried an astrological reading. Maybe it's the time to try it. Something alternative in their healing, because that Uranus there in Taurus in the Grand Trine. So, you know, it's
yes.
time to try something new and something that is also very personal to you. Levi, what is your website? I'm going to link it down below, but you can also...
Yes, it's levicousin.com.
Okay, wonderful. I will post it below. You can contact Levi for consultations. And I'm going to link my website below as well, yourstars.com. There you can find info on chart readings and also classes, past and future classes, and some blog posts on astrology and the cards of truth. So yes, thank you again, Levi, for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to have you on the channel.
It was great to be here.
Bye.